It's the big one. Manchester United away at City. Things don't get much bigger than this over the season, besides maybe Liverpool coming to Old Trafford or going to Anfield. They're the two biggest games of the season for Manchester United. And this is going to be the toughest game of the season, I think. Manchester United are coming up against probably the most informed team, and probably certainly one of the best teams in Europe at this moment in time. We played another of them the other night in Juventus, who didn't take their chances, and we managed to capitalise on that late on. Can lightning strike twice, or should we say three times, with that Bournemouth game as well, them not taking their chances. Now Manchester City have been scoring goals for fun lately. They've scored 6 goals in both their previous 2 games, one in the Premier League, one in the Champions League, so they're in red hot form in terms of their goal scoring, but this is a bigger test for them as well. Them 2 games were against lesser opposition than Manchester United, and whereas we haven't been in the best of form in terms of actual performances, we've been digging some results out the bag lately to somehow save Jose Mourinho from the inevitable, which what I thought would have been the sack had he not pulled some of these results out the bag. If we hadn't seen that late comeback against Juventus and the late goal against Bournemouth, things would be looking a lot different going into this game. That had been another 2 points dropped in the Premier League. Further ground would have been needed to make up, and it would be potentially going out of the group stage of the Champions League had we lost that one. So the mood is a lot better going into this game, even though the performances, okay, second half against Bournemouth wasn't too bad, but the rest of the performances lately have not been good enough in them 2 games. Really not been good enough, and it is a surprise that Manchester United have managed to clawed both games out the bag, and I've got to give Jose Mourinho a lot of credit for that. He's made substitutions in the previous 2 games, which I was very critical when he didn't make any substitutions against Juventus at Old Trafford, and it changed the game. I said at Old Trafford against Juventus at home, bring Herrera on, bring Fred on, bring Chong on, change something. What's Matic doing? What are players like that doing in this game to get Manchester United back into the game? You've got to take risks when you're losing games. And Manchester United took a lot more risks against Bournemouth. And okay, against Juventus we maybe got a bit fortunate and we got 2 set pieces, but we stayed in the game and we clawed out some chances, bringing on substitutions to change the game. If you stick with the same thing that hasn't worked for 70-80 minutes, which we did at the home game against Juventus when we didn't bring anyone on, you might not get back into the game. You could get a moment of brilliance still from one of the players on the pitch, but he could have easily brought Chong, Herrera or someone on in that game. So we may have to resort to that again this weekend. We may see another dog shit performance. Who knows? But let's be excited about the clash anyway. We're coming up against this red hot form of Manchester City, and I don't know where to start with them because they are banging in goals left, right and centre, and it really is disheartening for me to say. But they're going to be champions again this year, I'm sure of that. Now, I prefer them to be champions than Liverpool, but they've got so many players scoring goals for fun at the moment in time. So Manchester United got to be on their guard at the back. Ashley Young's got to have a very good game. So is Lindelof and Smalling. They've got to be on their A game this game. We cannot afford to give away any chances. Raheem Sterling is banging in goals for fun. In the past, he has cost games against Manchester United, with Liverpool and for Manchester City, where he squandered good chances in games to get their teams back into it. I remember even last season he squandered some chances when Manchester United were 2-0 down in that game at the Etihad Stadium, and Manchester United coming back to win 3-2. So, but he is banging goals and assisting for fun at the moment. So he's certainly going to be one to watch. But we've always got to watch their main man Sergio Aguero. We really have got to watch him because he's popped up with a number of goals against Manchester United over the years, and he's just such a deadly striker. But there is so many other players we could talk about. We could talk about Sane, Mahrez, and that magician of David Silva. It's just frightening to think of how good Manchester City can be on their day, but Manchester United have got players that could hurt them as well. And I'm not too sure how Jose Mourinho is going to set up, whether he's going to set up with a similar. I would expect him to set up with a similar lineup to what he played in midweek against Juventus. We don't know what the situation is on the injury front. We're hearing that Paul Pogba is potentially an injury doubt, so that is a concern for Manchester United. But Lukaku could be back for this game. Now, I personally think he should start on the bench for this game. No point bringing him straight back into the starting lineup. He's been rested for the last couple of games I don't believe it's too much of an injury. He just wanted to take him out of the limelight, I think, from them last two games because he was in poor form and he shouldn't have played against Everton either. So he will probably be back among the substitutes bench, but I would expect the back four to stay the same with Ashley Young, Shaw, Lindelof and Smalling as the defenders. Still really gives me the worries watching that defence. I mean, Lindelof's been better this season certainly, but Smalling and Ashley Young still do give me nightmares about what could potentially happen in a game like this. Now, the midfield will be interesting. Does he break? I mean, Christ, he may well choose to bring Marouane Fellaini back in for the start, but I personally would not do that. I would probably keep this. I mean, some people want to see Fred, Herrera and Pogba in midfield. Now, that would be a nice midfield, but he's going to go with Herrera, Matic and Pogba, I believe. If Pogba's fit, if not, then it may well be Fellaini. I can't see him playing Herrera and Fred in the team together, but probably Matic does need a break at some point over the next few weeks. His form's been very not great at all lately, been up and down, but hopefully he can get that rest in the coming weeks. I would potentially like to see him get that rest in the Champions League now that the Champions League group stage, well, certainly if we beat Young Boys, it's almost as good as done. So, and that should be a winnable game at home against Young Boys for Manchester United in that next one. So if he could get a rest in that, and then he could probably get a rest in the final game against Valencia as well in that group stage. So that's where we could rest some players up that need a rest. Then the forward line is going to be interesting. Does he stick with Jesse Lingard, or does he go with Marcus Rashford? Marcus Rashford having a great chance to seal that game against Juventus, missing it, Chesney saving it, which was disappointing. I would have liked to have seen that gone in the back of the net. That would have given Rashford the massive confidence that would have given him. If he had put that in, that would have been 2-2. Two late goals to seal game. Well, it would have already been sealed with the 2-1, but he would have finally sealed that as well. So 2 injury time goals. I think it was about injury time. That would have, or 2 late goals anyway. That would have given him such a word of confidence. I mean, that Bournemouth one probably did give him a lot of confidence as well. So he could come back in on one side. With Martial will definitely keep his place, and I would believe that Alexis Sanchez will keep his place up front in place of Lukaku. I can't see Lukaku coming straight back into this team, but the problem for Manchester United, if we do not win this game, which is a bit unlikely that we're going to go to the Etihad and win, they don't generally lose many games at home. We could go there and get a result, but it's going to be difficult. Then Manchester United are probably going to be looking up at the table of teams going above us again, and we're going to be looking sort of mid-table again, and it's just not good enough. The predicament we put ourselves in with losing so many points over the season so far is that we've got to be winning a lot of games in a row now to get above the likes of Arsenal, Tottenham, and stay consistently up the top of the table. Because if we lose 1 or 2 games or drop 3 or 4 points, then we're going to be back to square one where we are sort of 4 or 5 points behind the likes of Arsenal or more, and it's going to be so hard to catch up. So we're going to have to get a result in this game if we want to challenge even for that top 4 places again this season. I think it's going to be very difficult for Manchester United to get a win here. I think Manchester United are probably going to lose this game. I had a bit of confidence for some reason against Juventus, and I thought Manchester United might be able to claw out a 1-1 draw or something there. I don't know what gave me the confidence, but I'm not overly confident going into this one at all, with the fact that Manchester City are just scoring so many goals at the moment, and just Manchester United aren't performing very well. So I know some people might be confident because we've won our previous 2 games, but that isn't the fact that's giving me any confidence, because of the performances just weren't up to standard of Manchester United. But I would take a dog shit performance again against Manchester City if we won with an own goal or something like that. I don't care how bad the performance is. I don't care if we would. Well, what I believe Jose Mourinho will set his stall up to similar to that team against Juventus. We'll probably have to soak up a lot of pressure over the game, and I'm hoping that Manchester United can maybe pinch a goal on the counter-attack, or maybe even revert to the substitutes bench to the likes of Juan Mata, who probably won't start the game, and Fellaini, who may or may not start, and we might result to pumping balls into the box again, trying to get something late on to get something out of the game, because let's not beat around the bush about it. Manchester City have a better squad than Manchester United at this moment in time. I know it hurts Manchester United fans thinking about it, but we didn't invest enough in the summer in order to get to the level of Manchester City in terms of squad depth. They've just got so many world-class players in so many positions, and our back four is just paper thin. So unfortunately, we don't have the squad that Manchester City have. So we're going to have to try and stick in this game, and hopefully nick something out of the game. Maybe a draw wouldn't be the worst result in the world in terms of away at Manchester City, but it's going to put Manchester United further back in their race for Champions League football next season, which shouldn't be the aim for Manchester United. We should have been challenging for that title this season, which is really disheartening. But a win in this game could change Manchester United's season. It really could. If Manchester United were to somehow get a shock victory here at Manchester City, then the whole season could potentially change for Manchester United. We'd be looking at being a lot closer to the lights up the top there, because there's always that chance that one of the other teams, I know the problem is all the other teams have got easier fixtures this weekend. You're looking at the likes of Liverpool playing Fulham, Arsenal playing Wolves, so Manchester United have slipped up against similar teams to that. So we've got to be getting the victories in these games, because you never know, one of them teams could potentially slip up like they have done in previous weeks, and we've capitalised and been able to close the gap a bit. And coming up to Christmas, we really need to kick on this form, because games are going to come thick and fast. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this game. Unfortunately, I think Manchester United are probably going to lose this game 2-1. But if you offered me a draw before the game, I would accept it. I wouldn't be happy with a draw, but I would accept a draw and move on, and hope that Manchester United can kick on after the international break. Anyway, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll talk to you all again soon.